way. Okay, the very first one says solve by graphing. Okay, so which part do we graph first? Does anybody remember? Which part do we graph first? So we're going to graph the y equals x plus 3 first, but out of the x and the 3, which part do you graph first? The 3, okay? So when we're graphing these, we kind of graph in this form, y equals mx plus b. Okay, and some of you guys that write slow, you better write fast. Okay, so we graph in this form where the b is my y-intercept, and we have to graph this one first. Okay, we graph this first. Okay, the m part is my slope. Okay, that's my rise over run, so my up versus down over my left and right. Okay, and then lastly, if it's a positive line, okay, this one is positive. Okay, this is a negative line. Okay, so if we look at line 1 on number 1, it starts where? Where does the graph start at? At 3. So we're going to go to my y line, which is the up and down one in the center, and go up to 3 and put a dot. Okay, what is my slope? 1 over 1. Okay, so there's really a 1 in front of this x, and more specifically, there's a 1 over 1. So you're going to go up 1 over 1 and put a dot. Up 1 and over 1 and put a dot. It's much easier if you count versus trying to copy. Okay, so you can also go down 1 to the left 1. Down 1 to the left 1. Okay, line 1, we have to make as many dots as we possibly can. Line 2, you're going to make the minimum. Okay, so this is line 1. Okay, and it works much better, much faster if you just count versus copy. Okay, line 2. Line 2 starts where? Where does line 2 start at? At -2. So we're going to go to the y line, okay, which is the up and down line, and find -2 and put a dot. Okay, what is my slope? 1 over 4, okay, and that's a negative line, so we're going to go up 1 and to the left or right 4?
All seniors who
to the left.
To go on the senior march.
Okay, we're going up 1, left 4, so it's going to be here.
Mrs. Wallace, all seniors going on the senior march.
Okay, notice how that dot already had a dot there, yes. Okay, that's our intersection point, and that's what we were looking for when we did the 2. Okay, so line 2, we only have to make enough dots until the 2 dots touch each other. So, what is this coordinate? -4, -1. Okay, and that's our actual answer. -4, -1. Okay, now, I gotta tell you because the next problem is substitution and or elimination, so the next few. I'm a realist, okay? I'm not encouraging you to skip anything. However, if you're really crunched on time, as far as a final exam goes, this would be one that I would say, oh, maybe you need to consider skipping it, okay? If you're really good at some things and not good at other things, do the ones that you can do first, okay? So, substitution. Okay, which one of these says y equals? If I were to label this equation 1 and equation 2, which one says y equals? Equation 1. So that is the one that we're going to circle. And we're going to plug it in. It says y equals what? Y equals what? 5x minus 6. So right here where there's a y, we're going to change it into a 5x minus 6. Okay? So it's going to look like this. -2x minus 8. Okay, I'm copying down equation 2. And where there's a y now, we're going to put parentheses 5x minus 6 equals 6. Okay, and again, I know that it's been a while. We haven't done this since on January. Okay, so it's been a while, so if you're not like, oh man, that's okay. Okay, so our first step is going to be to distribute. Okay, so we got negative 2x. What is negative 8 times 5? Negative 8 times 5. Negative 40x. Negative 8 times negative 6. Positive 48 equals 6. Okay, and now we can combine. Who can get combined? The 2x and the 40. So I'm going to get a negative 42x plus 48 equals 6. And then who needs moved? The 48. So we're going to say minus 48 on both sides. Okay, so these guys are going to cross out. Okay, so I'm going to get negative 42x. What is 6 minus 48? Negative 42. Divide by negative 42. And so we get x equals 1. Okay, now, we are not entirely done. You solved for one part. Okay, we have to solve for the y part. Okay, however, that part to me is the easiest part because what do you have circled up above? Equation 1 or equation 2? Equation 1. So you're going to write that down. Okay, so it's going to be y equals 5x minus 6. Well, now we know the x. What is the x value? 1. So it's going to look like y equals 5, 1 minus 6. Okay, in this part, you could just plug in the calculator. You could say 5 parenthesis 1, close parenthesis minus 6. What would that give you? Negative 1. And so we get y equals negative 1. Okay, and so now we're ready to write this as a coordinate, okay? And it always goes x, y. Okay, so it's going to look like 1, negative 1. Do you guys remember, what should I said your numbers should be smaller than on this one? 10, okay? They should be smaller than 10, both of them. Okay, if you get something bigger than 10, it's probably wrong. What should you do?
Raise
Yeah, absolutely, raise your hand. Do not erase. Okay, do not erase. You very well could have just got 1 minus wrong up here, and then you just might have to fix something. Do not erase, because then I don't know where to help you. Okay, so do not erase, just raise your hand, and I will gladly help you. Can I scroll? Okay, number 5 is elimination. Okay, the first elimination one is going to be the addition elimination. Okay, this is going to be the addition. I can tell you right now that this is going to be a multiplication elimination. Okay, so you can kind of write yourself a note when you take your final. The very first one is going to be an addition one. Okay. So how do we know that it's elimination, and how do we know that it's addition? So the last one said y equals, yes? Neither of these say y equals. Okay.
The numbers, they're the same.
Yep. So, and then also, what two numbers are the same? The x's or the y's? The y's. Okay. And notice, one is a positive 4 and one is a negative 4. Yes. Yes. That means you can just go ahead and add them together. So we're gonna go ahead and add the two equations together. Okay. So I have 1 plus negative 8. 1 plus negative 8. Negative 7x. 4 plus negative 4. 0, aka it cancels or it eliminates. Okay, equals 4, negative 4 plus 4. Okay, now pause. Okay, we can't say cancels for this one because why? It's not negative 8. Why can't we just say cancels?
Because then you won't have an answer.
Perfect. Okay, so if we just do this, good job, Zach. Okay, if we just do this and cancel everything, then what do we do? Right? Then you guys are like, I don't know what to do. Okay, so know when you actually need to cancel, because what does cancel really mean? It really means 0. Okay, they're interchangeable words. Cancel and zero and math unfortunately means the same thing. So which one of these two needs canceled and which one needs to say zero?
Not the Y.
The y's need canceled. These ones need to say zero in order for our math to work out good. Okay? Because now you would know what to solve. But if you just cancel both of them, you're just like, I don't know what to do. Okay? So then if you're looking at that, what needs done next? Divide by -7. So we get x equals 0. Okay, and so now we need to find y. What do we do now? Plug it in. Does it matter which one? No, you just pick one. Which one would you guys like to use? The top one? Okay, so the top says x plus 4y equals -4. What are we plugging in to where? We're plugging the 0 in for the x. So it's going to really look like 0 plus 4y equals -4. Okay, then what needs done? We're going to subtract 0. So we get 4y equals -4. And then divide by 4. So we get y equals -1. Okay, so what is my answer actually? 0, comma, -1. 0, comma, -1. Okay, the first 10 are long, after that they kind of start cruising, okay? So just hang on. Okay, 7. 7. Okay, are any of the numbers the same? No, which tells us we need to multiply. And none of them say y equals, so we need to multiply. Okay, look at the x's. Look at the x's. What is one of the x values? -5 and a -1. Which one of those two is smaller? The one, okay? And we're kind of just like xing the negative. Okay, 1 is smaller, which means if I were to cancel the x's, I would multiply this one because it's smaller. 1 times what gives me 5? 5. Okay, what about if I wanted to cancel the y's? What about if I wanted to cancel the y's? Yeah, if we're looking at the y's, which one is smaller? 9 or 3? The 3, so I would multiply the bottom one, okay, by something. 3 times what would give me 9? 3. So which one would you like to cancel, the x's or the y's? The y's? Okay, and in this case, doesn't matter. It does not. Sometimes if you're like, 5 times what would give me 12? That it don't work, okay? So if you can't see it immediately, that means it does not work. Okay, so we know that this is going to be 3. Should it be a -3 or a +3? Okay, and how you can tell, look at the signs. So I have a positive for one of the y's and a negative for one of the y's. So does this need to be negative or positive? Okay, are the two signs the same currently or are they different? They are different, and that's what we want them to be in order to cancel. So we do not need to throw a sign on the outside. Okay, so the top equation, nothing's changing, so we're going to write that down. -5x plus 9y equals 22. Okay, the bottom equation, we're multiplying everything times 3. So it's going to be -3x minus 9y equals, what is 14 times 3? I don't know. 24, 30, 42. Okay, now, are two of the numbers the same? Yeah, what are they? The 9s, okay? The y's and the 9s. Okay, and one's positive, one's negative, so that lets us know that they're going to go ahead and cancel, so we can add them together now. Okay, so I'm going to get -8x. The y's cancel, and then I'm going to get 64. Okay, then what needs done? Divide by -8. So we get x equals -8. Okay, what needs to happen next? Okay, plug it back in. However, there is a rule. What is that rule? You have to use the original equation, okay? So one of like the text writing part, okay? So which equation would you like to use? Equation 1 or equation 2? 1? Okay, so 1 says negative 5x plus 9y equals 22. Okay, which one do you now know, the x or the y? We know the x. So we got negative 5, negative 8 plus 9y equals 22. Okay, negative 5 times negative 8 is going to be 40 plus 9y equals 22. Then what? Subtract 40 from both sides. So we got 9y equals 18? Negative 18. And then we're going to divide by 9. No, it's not 3. What is our final answer? Negative 8, negative 2. We got one more long one, and the rest are super fast. Okay, let's see what you guys remember. Number 9 and 10 are inequalities. Okay, so there are several rules, but part of it is the same as the front, except for the shading. Okay, is this going to be a solid or dotted line? That is a dotted line. Okay, so then this is obviously a solid line. Okay, we also have, you're going to pick something from each one of these boxes. Okay, well not from each, but it kind of just depends on, okay, so if it's like this, or like this, are you going to shade above or below? This is shade above. Okay, and then so this one is going to be shade below. Okay, so essentially you pick one from each box, okay? So it's either going to be solid or dotted, shade above or below, okay? As far as line 1 goes, okay, and remember, you can use this on your test, okay? So that's probably notes. If you didn't remember that immediately, that's something I would probably write down, okay? So if we look at line 1, okay, I call it line 1, okay? If we look at line 1, is that gonna, where is that gonna start at? At 3, okay? So we're gonna go to the Y line, which is the up and down line, and it starts at 3. What is my slope? 6 over 1. Can I go up 6? No, so I have to go down 6, okay? And you need to think about what you're doing because you need a positive line. So we're going to go down 6 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To the left, good. Okay, now that we've got our 2 dots made, because you should at least be making 2, if not more, okay, is that going to be solid or a dotted line? It is going to be a dotted line, so make your line dotted. Okay, so a dotted line. Are we going to shade that line above or below? Above or below? It is going to be below. Okay, so again, line 1, you're going to shade lightly. Okay, so shade lightly so you can still see what's going on because we got another one to graph on this one, okay? So shade super lightly on line 1, just barely enough where you can see it, okay? Okay, line 2, where is that one going to start out at? At -2, so my line starts here. What is my slope? 1/1. Okay, now, I can go up 1/1. Is that ever going to intersect if I keep going up and over, up and over? No, I need to go down 1/1 in order to still, now I have a purple dot and a black dot on the same, okay, which is what I want. I want 2 dots to intersect, okay? Should this line be solid or dotted? It is going to be a solid line. No, a dotted line? Or is my paper just?
It's a dotted one.
Is it dotted line? Yeah. Dotted line. Okay, so it's going to be here. Are we going to shade above or below that line? We're going to go above. Okay, and if you're not sure, look at this. See how like the Y and then we got the mouth going like towards the Y with no line underneath of it. Okay, this one has the Y, the mouth going towards the Y with no line underneath it. This is the mouth going like away from the Y. Okay, so this is going to be shade above. Okay, now mine looks messy. Okay, so we really should have how many sections here? 4. Okay, so I've got 1 black section, 1 black and purple section, 1 just purple section, and 1 section with no color in it. Okay, which section is my answer section? The one with both colors in it. Okay, and so you're gonna go back through with your pencil, and this section right here is gonna get shaded nice and dark. Okay, and that's our solution section. Okay, we're going to finish up with exponents and then call it a day, okay? So exponents, there are 4 types of exponent rules, okay? The first being with the dot, okay? With the dot. Okay, that's when you're gonna multiply the big, and then you're gonna add the littles. Okay, so what are our 2 big numbers there on number 11? What are our 2 big numbers? -1 and a 3. So -1 times 3, what is that going to give us? -3. And then we're going to add up all the littles. So 3 plus 2. 5. Okay, are there any negative exponents? Any negative baby numbers? No. Okay, what do we do with the negative stuff? You guys remember what do we do when we have a negative? Okay, so remember, if they're on the top, where are they going to go? If they're on the top, they're going to go to the bottom. If they're on the bottom, where do they go? To the top, okay? So negatives need moved. Okay, so although that's the basic, most general rules for the multiplication, there are like additional things to that. So it kind of just depends per problem. Okay, I'm going to actually do 14 instead of 13. Well, I'm going to do 13 and 14. So, but for the parentheses, okay, for the parentheses, okay, essentially you're going to distribute, and I don't know how to like explain and or write the rules, okay, but first of all, I can put a 1 here between the 4 and the n, a baby 1 there, okay. So I'm going to have a -4, and really we're multiplying, so 3 times 1, so 1 times 3, and I'm doing this like super slow steps, but, okay, and then I'm going to have an n, and it's going to be 2 times 3. Okay, well what is 1 times 3? 3. So this is really going to look like negative 4 to the third and to the, what is 2 times 3? 6. Okay, do we have any negative exponents? I mean the baby numbers. No. But this part you can type in your calculator. What is negative 4 to the third? Negative 4 to the third power. And type that in. So it's going to be negative 64 and 6. Okay, look at 13. Is there any, is there a dot? Is there parentheses? No. Okay, so, okay, so there's nothing to do here on this one. Okay, and so that is our answer. B squared is our answer. Okay? B squared is the answer. Okay? So that one's kind of like a trick question, in my opinion. Okay, 15 is all about division. Okay, so these are, if you see the bar, that means division. Okay, you're going to reduce or divide the bigs. I don't know what you want to say, but okay. Okay, and then you subtract the littles. Okay, and more specifically, it needs to go the top one minus the bottom one. Okay, and you do notes that are going to make sense to you. Okay, I don't know how to explain it. If you don't need any notes, then don't write any notes. If you need notes, then write them.
What's the box?
That's like a fraction button on your calculator. That's what I'm saying. Like, really, but what you're doing is saying negative 2 divided by negative 4. What would that reduce to? But a lot of you guys suck at fractions, so you can hit your fraction button and put a negative 2 on the top and a negative 4 on the bottom and hit equals. And what would that give you? 1 over 2. Okay? So you're going to get 1 over 2 when you would type that in your fraction button. Okay? And then you're going to subtract the little ones, okay? And I'm just going to show my work today, but normally I wouldn't, okay? So we're going to say n to the 1 minus, what is the other n on the bottom? 3. 1 minus 3. And what is that? 1 minus 3. 2. Is it 2 or negative 2? 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Okay, where do negative exponents go? Okay, they go on the opposite of wherever they're at. Okay, so in this case, it's going to go to the bottom, and it's going to become a positive. Okay, so it's going to look like 1 over 2 n to the 2. It's okay, it'll take practice. Okay, and again, now that you've done it, look at my notes. If they don't make any sense to you, write your own. Okay? That's how you take notes. Write your own. Write something that's going to make sense to you. Draw yourself little arrows. Type it on the calculator with the box button. I don't know, whatever you need to be successful. Okay? Okay, 17 goes back to the dot. What does the dot rule say? Multiply the big ones and do what with the little ones? Add the little ones together, okay? So, what are the two big ones?
Negative 4 and positive 4.
Yep, so we're going to get negative 16, and then we're going to add up the littles, okay? How many x's do you have? We have, well, 1, but so a negative 2. Okay, what about the y's? We got a positive 2 and a negative 2. So what is 2 plus negative 2? 2 plus negative 2 is 0. Okay, do you have any negative exponents? Yeah, what are they? Yeah, so where does the negatives go? So we're going to draw ourselves a little bar. The 16, he's never going to move. Okay, so he's going to go on top because there's really a 1 underneath here. Okay, anything you can write a 1 underneath of it. Okay, the x to the negative 2, where's he going to go? Where's he right now? He's on the top and he has a negative, so that means we need to move him. So the only place he can go then is to the bottom, and it's going to become a positive. So it's going to say x to the 2. Y to the 0, where's he right now? At the top, does he have a negative? No. So does he need moved? No. So we're gonna leave him back at the top. Now, anything to the 0 power, anything to the 0 equals 1. Okay, and or cancels. Okay, so in this case, the reason, and don't write this down, I'm gonna show you. Okay, right now this is what we have, 16 over x to the 2. If I change my y to the 0 to a 1, like this, okay, you would multiply them. What is negative 16 times 1? Is 16, okay, if you multiply these, you're gonna get 16 over x to the 2. So what actually happened to it? It just disappeared, okay? The y's to the 0 turned to a 1, and then we multiplied it, and then it just disappeared. So essentially, it just cancels, okay? So, or cancels. We got 2 left. Sorry, anyway. Okay, 19. Where do we add the 1? Where do we add a 1? We're going to add it right after the negative 3. So we're going to put a 1 here. Okay, between the negative 3 and the n. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and distribute and or times each one. Okay, so we got negative 3. What is 4 times 1? 4. And then I have an n. And so 4 times negative 3. Negative 12. Okay, do we have any negatives? Exponents? Yes. Okay, so the negative 3 to the 4 is going to stay in his spot. Where is n to the 12th going to go? On the bottom. And he's going to become a positive. Okay, and then lastly, you need to type that in on your calculator. What is negative 3 to the 4th power? Negative 3 to the 4th power. Negative 81? Okay. Okay, 21. Where can I add a 1? In front of the x as well as with the x. Okay, there's a big 1 and a baby 1. Okay, so on your calculator, you would hit your fraction button and say negative 1/2. What does that reduce to? What does that reduce to? What does negative 1/2 become? Negative 1/2. Okay, it stays there. Okay, what about the x's? Okay, how many x's are on top? 1. On bottom? None. So can we do subtraction? No, x's go with x's, y's go with y's. Okay, so he's going to go back. Okay, what about the y's? How many y's is there on top? None. On the bottom? There's negative 3 on the bottom. Okay, however, that is negative, so where do negatives go?
Opposite.
They go on the opposite, right? Because if they're on the top, where do we normally take them? To the bottom. If they're on the bottom, then where do you think they're going to have to go? To the top, okay? We just move them around in a circle, okay? From top to bottom, from bottom to top, okay? So this is going to come to the top, and it's going to become a positive y3. Okay, we're going to stop here for today, okay? Now, pause, pause, pause.